All right, good evening. Welcome to the City of Smyrna Planning and Zoning meeting. Today is September 14th, 2015 at 6 p.m. This meeting is called to order. At this time, we'd like to ask you if you have a mobile device that you would please put it in airplane mode or turn it off. It tends to affect our recording equipment. For those of you joining us for the first time, this meeting is conducted much like a council meeting. As such, each application will include a presentation from city staff, followed by a question and answer session between staff and the board. Following staff's presentation, we will have the applicant present their case and answer any questions. Once all the questions have been satisfied, we'll have an opportunity for anyone in attendance that would like to come forward and speak in favor of or opposition to the application. We ask that you come forward one at a time, state your name and address for the record, and sign the sign-in sheet at the podium. And please direct all your comments to the board. For those of you that don't have an agenda in front of you, we have several items that we have to just kind of procedurally go through and table. So if you'll just bear with us for a couple seconds, we'll be as fast as possible and still maintain the rules. All right, the first item on the agenda is Z15-003. It is rezoning of the subject property from R15 to RAD conditional for the development of 6 single-family homes. This is 1.31 acres at land lot 592, 1514 Hawthorne Avenue. This item is to be tabled to the October 12th, 2015 Planning and Zoning Board meeting at the request of the applicant. Can we get a motion to table? We have a motion, Mr. Campo, a second, Mr. Roberts. All in favor?
I'm not on for some reason.
Did you?
I got it.
Okay, we have a motion. It's approved. 6-0. Thank you. Sorry. You moved the screen, Chelsea. All right, the next item on the agenda is annexation and zoning request Z15-004. It's rezoning from R20 Cobb County to RAD conditional Smyrna for the development of 17 townhomes. This is 980 and 990 Pebblebrook Road. Jesse N. Maxwell Jr. This item is to be tabled to the October 12, 2015 Planning and Zoning Board meeting at the request of the applicant.
I'll make a motion we approve.
Motion to table, Mr. Rice. Second. Mr. Whittington, please vote. Items approved 6-0. All right. The next item on the agenda is Z15-012. This is the annexation, rezoning, and zoning amendment for the construction of a 250-unit independent senior housing development. It is a 4.8-acre tract at land lot 691. 4840 and 4788 Hanson Drive, Creekside Village Development Group Incorporated. This item is to be tabled to the October 12th, 2015 Planning and Zoning Board meeting at the request of the applicant. Can we get a motion, please?
Make a motion to approve.
Motion to approve the table. Mr. Rice, a second. Ms. Lightfoot. All in favor, please vote. Motion to table is approved, 6-0. All right. Well, that was about as quick as we could do it. The next item on our agenda is Z15-018. It's approval of a special land use permit for the installation of a utility hut for Google Fiber Services. This is a 13.72 acre at land lot 776 and 809, also known as 2825 Park Road, for Google Fiber Georgia LLC. Mr. Sudreth, the background, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. There are 3 sites that we have for the Google Fiber huts. We'll do 3 presentations, but I'll do one, this first one, and then the second and third will be a lot quicker. They'll be similar, but they are in different locations, those other ones. We felt it was better to do 3 of them because some of the conditions are pertinent to the location on that. We've talked about Google. You've read about Google coming to Smyrna, as well as to 8 other communities within the Atlanta region here, probably for the last year or so. And this is actually not the first movement in dealing with Smyrna. It may be the first step that requires a board approval. But staff has been working with Google for a year and a half, probably, in providing information, talking to them about what they want to do. And ultimately, we have gotten them to this point, which requires them to have a special land use permit. Now, all 3 sites that we will talk about tonight are on city property with this. I'm not going to pretend to be the engineer on this. You can ask them specific questions as to how all this ties together. But this, bottom line, this is an important step, and that there is another step associated with this that you will not see that council has to do, and that is to deal with, actually approve a lease arrangement. So council would have the special land use permit as well as the lease arrangement to deal with as well. And this is set up not only for tonight, but it's set up to go to mayor and council in October. So the first site that we have is on Powder Spring Street. It is located sort of in the overflow parking lot that's across the street from the backside of the community center, also to the rear of the police station. The subject site will be at the edge of the parking lot. It'll be more towards the Powder Spring Street side of that, and it is for a 12 by 28 utility hut. That's in essence what we are approving. There will be easements and stuff to provide it with the power. I guess the analogy that we make is that this is a similar style hut per se that is associated with a communications tower, a cellular tower, but there's no tower associated with this.
Real quick, not to interrupt you, but however you want to do this, I'm absolutely okay with it. Are you talking about Powder Spring Street or Park Drive? Park Drive's the one we started with.
I'm sorry, I'm just going by what. That's fine.
Z17, 17 is the first one, but on our agenda, it's the second one. I'm sorry.
Yeah, and I'm sorry about that. I guess we loaded this up with Powder Spring Street being the first one, and I did not realize this.
Do you want to go back through and do this as Z17, or does it matter?
No, it does. We do need to stay with the numbers,
okay,
because that's the way they're in that system. So I'm happy to move it, or if you want to just jump to Powder Springs, I'll because the presentations obviously are the same.
It's going to be the same either way. So why don't we just go with Powder Springs, and then when we make our motion, however it goes, make sure we recognize that this is Z15-017, not 018, correct? Okay, thank you.
On that. Thank you, Joel, for that. I'm sorry for that, the way we loaded this up. Anyway, it's a 12 by 28 structure that's being proposed. As I said, easements. The city will work with them on the appropriate easements. Eric Randall is here tonight, who is our city engineer. He's been involved in this process to answer any utility/engineering issues from the city side, if any come up. This is the proposed site plan of where this is located. They have a much larger lease area than the size of the building, which will be behind a chain link fence, which will have black vinyl on it, as well as a barbed wire on top of that. This is the proposed look of it. It has a pebble finish. It is brought in on a truck and set down with that. It is an unmanned facility, and obviously they will check it. It'll be on a maintenance kind of thing that it'll be checked, and obviously if there is some kind of emergency, it'll operate there. And there will be, just so that everybody knows, that there is an emergency generator aspect associated with this, which makes sense. Obviously, they need to be able to maintain power to it. Again, subject property. Actually, we're in that upper left where the van, the city van is located there. That's basically gives you a general idea of where we're talking about this being located. Again, just what's around. Obviously, you've got parking lot, and you've got some open grassed area as well as the rear of the community center. The staff is recommending approval of the special land use permit with 6 conditions. That they be, condition number 1, they be in substantial compliance with the plans that they've submitted us, obviously, that they're bound to the elevation that they've submitted to us, which looks like the photo we had shown you, that the chain link fencing is a black vinyl fencing, coated vinyl, that the use of concertina barbed wire is prohibited, but that a 3-strand barbed wire is permitted. The applicant has to meet the city's tree ordinance, all the tree protection measures they have to comply with, as well as other landscaping measures that are in our zoning ordinance. And those plans have to be approved by staff on that. They are aware of that. This is not a surprise. They knew we needed landscaping from day one. The applicants are here. I'm happy to answer any questions. Apologize for loading this up incorrectly.
No worries, no worries. Any questions for Mr. Sudworth? All right. Thank you, sir. All right. The applicant is in attendance. Is there anything you guys want to come up and add or tell us a little bit about your plan? Yeah, you please come to the microphone. I'm sorry. And it might be easier to just introduce yourself, and then if there are any questions from the audience, we can handle them.
I'm Chris Carpenter with Garrett McNatt Hennessy. We're lawyers, but we represent Google and Google Fiber. We're happy to answer any questions that you might have. We have a couple engineers here also, and I know that they've been working very well with the city staff, and I think that everybody has a pretty good understanding about what we're planning on doing, and so happy to answer any questions.
Do you have any questions for the applicant at this time from you guys? Mr. Roberts?
Yeah, I was just wondering, we were trying to get a sense of your timeline of when you would actually be up and running.
Well, this is all a part of, and I'm going to ask Scott Simcox to come up here with Google Fiber. This is all about building a fiber backbone, and before we could start offering services, we're having to build a complete backbone structure throughout the Metro Atlanta area, and these huts and this construction is part of that process. So actually delivering and service to residents, this is the first step before we can even start providing those services. So as we build the backbone and the timing of that, it takes precedent, obviously, and then after that is several quarters after that before we provide any type of service to customers.
Mr. Campo?
I just had one question that's come up. You're planning on landscaping. I know you're going to have a fence up with barbed wire across the top. Are you going to enhance this area with some kind of landscaping to maybe shield some of the fencing?
Obviously, we're going to work with staff in following all the requirements that the city has, but it is certainly our intention to try and mask this as much as possible. We certainly don't want to provide any type of attractive nuisance to anybody to wonder what's going on there, so we're going to try and provide as much shielding as we can around the hut complex.
Okay. And the second question, timing-wise, to put this infrastructure in, I would assume you're looking at, you don't really have a timetable, but I would assume it'd be at the minimum 18 months to 2 years before you would be in a position to offer this service, and that would be on the...
I'm going to let Scott answer that question.
Hi, I'm Scott Simcox with Google Fiber. I'm the outside plant construction manager for the Atlanta market. And right now it's our intention to secure the hut sites, which allows us to begin the backbone ring construction. And then ultimately from those hut sites out to the residential communities is the last step in that. So the timeline you represented is certainly realistic. We hoped to improve upon that if we possibly can. But at this point, as you know, it's a massive undertaking, so we're just doing what we can to move forward.
Any further questions? All right, thanks, gentlemen. We'll
Staff was told that initially this is for residential purposes only, and I just wanted you to confirm that.
We are certainly working. We understand that there is a desire for a small business component. Right now as a residential product, but in other locales where Google Fiber has gone in, we are starting to provide services for small businesses. But at this point, the pricing or exactly what the product is going to be delivered here in Metro Atlanta has not been finalized. But right now it is a residential product. But we will be going to multi-dwelling units also, but it's primarily residential at this time.
How many markets are you guys in currently?
4, I think.
Currently providing service in 4 markets, 4 additional markets under construction in the southeast, and additional markets at various phases of engineering and construction across the country.
Wow. Any other questions?
Yes. I know I could go on Google and find this as well, but do you have any renderings or pictures of existing huts like in Kansas City or Provo or Austin?
I do actually have
We
one.
do.
They showed one on the...
There was a hut on a truck that they showed, and that's one that's being delivered, I believe, in Kansas City. But one that's finalized, we have some photographs we'd like to
Great.
show you.
Thank you.
Just bring it up and we'll pass it around.
This is a hut that was recently placed in Kansas City. With some of the landscape. Obviously not fully mature.
Is this the same size as the one that you guys are?
I believe that one might be a little bit smaller than the one we're placing.
Okay.
But the design is roughly the same.
Okay. Excellent. Any other questions while they're up here, guys?
One more. Can you go into just a little bit what the product you'd be offering residents would look like?
So right now, the product offering we have for the residential market in our launched communities in Kansas City and in Austin and Provo and Salt Lake City is a 1 gigabyte per second internet offering. There is also a TV product that you can get along with that if you choose. And then we also have a more affordable internet product that we offer to lower income communities or lower income folks who really are just getting on the internet for the first time. And the pricing for that hasn't been defined, but it's very affordable and competitive when compared to the other markets.
Is that it? All right. Thank you guys very much.
Thank you.
All right. This is a public hearing. At this time, we'd like to ask if there's anyone in attendance that would like to come forward and speak in favor of or opposition to this application. For clarification purposes, we did move ahead on the agenda to item E. This is Z15-017. All right. There is no public comment. All right. Any further discussion on this item? Okay. Then can we get a motion? Motion, Mr. Roberts.
I'll make a motion we approve zoning request Z15-017 for special land use permit at land lots 428, 520, 521, and 522, 2618 Powder Springs Street.
All right, this is a motion, Mr. Roberts, second, Mr. Whittington for approval. Please vote. Already had a motion approved. Just vote. Did you vote? Okay. It's approved 6-0. All right. Mr. Sudworth, which do you have?
And so let me bring up the other locations, and then we'll go right.
We'll go with that
and
item.
we'll go right into the conditions with that as well. How we did this. All right, let me get you back to the first one, which I think is that.
You fixed it. Got a wonderful picture of you on our monitor.
All right, let's try to. This one then. Rid of that one. Yeah, so now we're actually on Z15-018,
Okay.
which is listed as item D
Right.
on the agenda.
All right, so back to item D. This is a zoning request Z15-018. This is approval of a special land use permit for the installation of a utility hut for Google Fiber Services. This is the 13.72 acres at land lot 776-809 at 2825 Park Road, Google Fiber, Georgia, LLC. All right, thank you, Mr. Sudworth.
Hang on just a second. Chelsea, can you step here for just a second? Since he's multiple things, this is the right one, but this is the right one. I just can't get it. Sorry, I needed younger eyes on that. Thank you, Chelsea. I'm going to, Chelsea was kind enough just to run right to the recommendation for us, but what I think I'm going to do is let me just go back to the original location map. This is at 2825 Park Road, which is actually more identified as the fire station number 3 that's off of Spring Road. It looks like it's on a driveway currently if you look at the photo, but that driveway is actually not in use and it's actually blocked off behind the fire station. So don't let the photo necessarily mislead you. With that, the actual parking for the fire station comes off of Park Road on that. Again, a very similar site plan. There's a area here that's behind the fire station. Again, that's spread out area that will show both lease lines as well as the location of the hut. Everything else is similar to what we had talked about on Powder Springs. Again, what the unit looks like. Subject property, here you can see there's actually dumpsters that are there currently that are intentionally there to prevent access. And pictures of what's around the fire station. There's a little strip center directly behind it. Again, approval is recommended by staff for the special land use permit. Again, the utility hut has to be in substantial compliance with what's been submitted. The same with the elevations. Chain link fencing will, that says black. I mean, it says back coated. It's actually supposed to be black coated fencing. Again, cannot use the Constantina barbed wire, but can use the 3-strand. Has to meet the tree ordinance as well as those landscape plans. Ultimately, have to be approved by staff. But there's a 7 and 8 on this one, given its location, and that is the applicant shall remove all asphalt on the abandoned roads and city property from the proposed utility facility to the pedestrian bridge. The area where the asphalt is removed should be sodded and landscaped as appropriate, and that the applicant shall relocate the existing dumpsters on Park to another suitable location. The city's public works director shall review and approve all locations with that. Eric, was there any additional information you wanted to say about those two conditions?
Not at this time.
Thank you. Happy to answer any questions, but again, in the same situation, I guess we should say that the reason that we have 3 instead of 2 or 3 instead of 4 is because that's what Google has determined they need to serve Smyrna on that. So this being the second site. Happy to answer any questions.
And the real quick, the items that are a little bit different, site specific here would be remove the asphalt, install the proper landscaping. What else is? You said something about infrastructure to the.
8. The existing dumpsters have to be relocated and get approval for that.
Okay.
As well. On your report, it would be items 7 and 8. The first one had 6 conditions. This one has 8 conditions. Right. 7 and 8 are the new ones.
Thank you very much. Any questions for Mr. Sudworth? All right. The applicant is in attendance. Any changes or any additional information you want to add, feel free. If not, I don't see there. All right. So
since I'm going to do another one.
You're going to do another one, you just stay there. For the record, the applicant has heard the special stipulations and is in agreement with staff recommendations. All right, thank you very much. This is a public hearing. At this time, we'd like to ask if there's anyone in the audience that would like to come forward and speak in favor of or opposition to this application. All right. Any further discussion or comments? Okay. No. All right. Then can we go to a motion? I still need a motion. I have a motion, Mr. Roberts.
Yes, sir. I make a motion that we accept the zoning request Z15019, approval of special land use permit for installation of utility hut for Google Fiber Services.
Can you correct that to Z1?
I'm sorry.
Thank you.
I'm sorry. I've already flipped over.
Yes.
Sorry. Z15018, approval of a special land use permit for installation of utility hut at land lot 776 and 809, located at 2825 Park Road.
All right, we have a motion for approval of the application for Z15-018, and we have a second. That the motion by Mr. Roberts, a second by Mr. Rice. All in favor? We have it's approved 6-0. All right. The next item on the agenda is Item Z15-019, approval of a special land use permit for the installation of a utility hut for Google Fiber Services. This is 26.1 acres at land lot 386 and 387, 4201 North Cooper Lake Road, Google Fiber, Georgia, LLC. Mr. Sudreth.
And this should be, let's make sure we have this right. Yeah. Yes, this is for 4201 North Cooper Lake Road. This is actually, again, on city-owned property. It's within the park at this point. If you are familiar with that, park entrance is a long single road that extends behind several houses, as well as a new subdivision that's going in. And once you enter into the park, a community garden is located on the left. The subject site is actually directly across on the right side of the road as you enter the site. On this, again, another 12 by 28 proposal. This, again, is their site plan. They have several, a little more detail in the sense of number of information, because there are other utilities lines in this area that they've identified. But again, there's the leased area as well as where the building is to be located on that, which is right at the entrance on the right. You will not be able to see this from North Cooper Lake because it's back in, actually in the park proper. Again, same kind of facility. This is the subject property. Obviously, it's all parkland that's in this area. And in this case, we have the same 6 conditions that we've had in the other 2, but there is a 7th condition, which I will just add and read to. The applicant shall provide a concrete driveway, apron, and access road off North Cooper Lake Road to service the proposed utility hut. Eric, you might want to comment.
The reason for this difference is that there is a sidewalk that goes down that side of the entrance drive, and rather than having just the gravel entrance, this maintains the hard surface rather than pedestrians having to cross a driveway. I'll also say that we worked very closely. In fact, this is one of the sites we walked with the design team to actually look at how are they coming in off of North Cooper Lake Road with the trunk line in and out. And during that conversation, it was very, they were very responsive of saying, look, this is how we can avoid the trees on either side or taking up fences. They indicated they'd be willing to put the duct bank just inside the curb, so taking up asphalt pavement and putting it back down prior to us doing a final topping course on that road. So it's been a very flexible process. It's been a very good one working with this group.
Thank you.
That's it. Happy to answer any questions. Staff recommends approval.
Any questions for Mr. Sudreth? All right. The applicant is in attendance, has heard the special stipulation. I believe it's number 7. And the applicant is in agreement with the special stipulation on that item. Okay. All right. Any questions for the applicant? No? Okay. This is a public hearing. At this time, we'd like to ask if there's anyone in attendance that would like to come forward and speak in favor of or opposition to the application. Now he's finally getting his turn. Good evening. Please state your name and address for the record.
Haywood Savage, 498 Willowbrook Road, Smyrna, Georgia.
Welcome, Mr. Savage.
And the sign-in sheet's not here, but just quickly, not against it. We do need a little more competition in Smyrna, so I definitely know the wife will be pleased because we have difficulty sometimes on her computer about stuff. A couple of quick questions, and one, Hasn't been brought up, and I was not wanting to get involved with all the others, but since this is so close to the residential, and so are the others, and I worked for public utility for a lot of years, what's the decibel of these buildings on the sound?
When you say decibel, you mean like shielding the residents from?
Yes, any kind of power equipment puts off a decimal point.
Okay.
And that hasn't been addressed. And, you know, a lot of people don't think about it, but I worked for Georgia Power for about 38 years. So just a question on that.
Okay. What other questions do you have?
The other is if I've got some interest on some property also on the right-hand side, and didn't know if the city is going to move the gates back down toward this, or if the gates is still stay up on the right-hand side. Or
Okay.
a part that box.
As far as the answer to the second question, I know of no plans to move the gates down to the park entrance. As far as I know, they're going to stay where they are. The plant road, that access road to North Cooper Lake Park, is actually not a right-of-way. That's just straight-up property. So, and that leaves the gates up at the front. And for access for off-peak hours, the locks will be what they call daisy-chained, in that a lock will be provided for the folks from Google that acts as a link in the chain.
You answered my number 3 question, so that was good. So that's it that I have.
Well, thanks for joining us tonight, Mr. Savage. We'll see if we can get these questions answered for you.
Sure.
Get
Thank
this
you very
one question that's left answered for you. So, is there any chance you guys could come up and speak a little bit about the noise pollution associated with these huts?
It's my understanding that the huts themselves, there's not any sound coming from the huts. There's no. The only issue is a generator, and obviously if we lose power, there's going to need to be some type of generator service.
Right.
So that generator, it's a natural gas generator. Obviously, it also gets tested, I believe, once a month. Is that correct? So it'd be tested once a month, but they actually have a sound rating on it, and I'm going to see if they can find it. You got it?
Yep. Yes, this is for the generator, which again would only be used once a month for testing purposes,
Or an emergency?
or in the case of an emergency where power is out and we need the generator to provide service. It's a natural gas generator with the ability to connect a portable propane truck to it in the case that the natural gas supply was also broken. It has a dB rating, sound pressure level at 7 meters of 81. The other sound issue that also could come into play is there's 4 HVAC units to keep the inside cooled, and those are just typical HVAC sound. We brought the spec on it, but I did not find the dB rating for those.
Okay.
The units itself, the equipment inside, completely self-contained. If you're standing outside, with the exception of the HVAC, you would not hear any equipment running on the inside.
All right. Very good. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Anybody have any other questions? I sent them away. No, it's Monday night. Any further questions? Any further discussion? All right. At this time, I'd like to ask for a motion. I would like to ask for a motion.
On zoning Z15019, approval of a special land use permit for the installation of a utility hut for Google Fiber service, 26.1 acres, land lots 386, 387, 4201 North Cooper Lake Road. I'll make a motion we approve.
And a motion to approve, Mr. Rice, a second by Mr. Campo. Please vote. And the application is approved 6-0. All right, the final item on our agenda is the approval of the minutes from the August 10th, 2015 Planning and Zoning Board meeting. Are the board members in possession of the minutes? Are there any changes, amendments that need to be made at this time? No. We get a motion to approve the minutes as presented. Motion, Mr. Campo. To approve, Ms. Lightfoot, a second. Please vote. Minutes are approved 6-0. Without any further business, any further discussion, comments, this meeting's adjourned at 6:40.
Voila.